Tesla stock is, of course, very highly valued. It's always been, and it's currently sitting at still a market cap of over $600 billion. And yet, a lot of people feel that Tesla is only scratching the surface of what they could be worth in the future. In fact, famous investors like Ron Barron, for example, think that it can climb by more than 7 times higher to a market cap of $4.5 trillion with a T by just by 2030 alone, which would be worth more than Google, Microsoft, and even Amazon all put together, which is just insane to think about. I actually made a whole video on that topic where I discuss all the different things that Ron Barron feels that they need to do, including reaching 20 million deliveries per year, which Tesla themselves have outlined as a goal of theirs. But I also mentioned one thing that I feel Tesla would need to do in order to be able to achieve that is to produce a cheaper mass market vehicle. Well, it just so happens that the infamous $25,000 Tesla car that most people refer to as the Model 2 has essentially been leaking online and being very heavily hinted at recently, essentially being confirmed at this point as one of their upcoming models for their next generation vehicles. So in today's video, I'm going to run down for you all the different rumors and hints towards that cheaper Tesla Model 2. We're going to talk about their next generation vehicles. And notice I said vehicles plural with an S because it's not just the Model 2, but there's actually multiple next generation vehicles that Tesla seems to be working on. We're going to talk about what I think that means for the company and the stock. And we'll also talk a little bit about their recent Investors Day presentation. And we'll talk about the new Gigafactory in Mexico and some of the different production changes that they're making that I think can take Tesla to the next level if they're successful in doing all of this. So we'll talk about how credible all of this is, how likely it is, and what my feelings are about the stock going forward. I hope you guys enjoy the video. I think it's going to be a fun one, but let's just go ahead and dive straight into it. All right, guys, now before we talk about the next gen models, I just want to quickly catch you up on the stock, which as of right now, it is currently down more than half its value from the top, currently sitting at less than $200 a share. Of course, famous investor Ron Barron, who himself is heavily invested in Tesla stock as well, thinks that it can reach a price of $1,500 by 2030, which would be an increase of more than 7.5 times its current level. And in order to reach that extraordinary price, Ron believes that Tesla would need to maintain their industry-leading margins while also selling a whopping 20 million vehicles per year. For context, Tesla only sold just a bit above 1 million last year, so they would need to grow those deliveries by an average of over 40% per year to achieve it. And for further context, they would then need to control about 25% of the entire automotive market and sell more vehicles than both Toyota and Volkswagen combined. Needless to say, it would not be an easy feat, but in fact, Elon Musk himself has already said that it's also an official goal for Tesla themselves to reach 20 million vehicle sales by 2030. So despite it seeming like an impossible goal to reach, at least we know that Tesla themselves are doing everything they can to seemingly reach it at some point in the future. As I stated in my own recent video though, Tesla reaching those kinds of numbers would be heavily dependent on releasing a cheaper mass market vehicle that more people can get their hands on. And by the way, I highly recommend that video if you want to learn all about the valuation and the calculations and everything it would take for them to reach those levels. I go into a much deeper dive there, but I don't really have enough time to cover all those things in this video, so I'll just recommend that one if you want to go deeper into it. But like I said, in my view, it would take a cheaper mass market vehicle to help Tesla reach their goals. And after all, Elon Musk himself was even quoted recently during their latest earnings call talking about the fact that they need a cheaper car in the future. And he specifically said, "I think there's just a vast number of people that want to buy a Tesla car but can't afford it," which was also in reference to Tesla currently having record high demand with double the amount of orders that they can even produce. So the demand is clearly there, but the equation is whether they can actually get the price low enough for more people to buy them. Well, it just so happens that Tesla has long been rumored to be working on an extremely cheap Tesla model that would cost as little as $25,000, which most people have been referring to as the Tesla Model 2. In fact, a few years ago, in 2020, it wasn't even a rumor. Elon Musk was literally on stage presenting a future model that was under a vehicle cover, which he claimed would only cost $25,000 and would release in just 3 years, which, by the way, 3 years from late 2020 would put us right near the end of this year here in 2023. However, since then, it seemed that the vehicle got put on hold, with Elon specifically saying during an earnings call last year that Tesla is so busy selling every single car they can make that there just isn't any point in working on a cheaper vehicle at this time. Of course, why would you sell a cheaper product when your already existing more expensive products are still completely selling out? There just isn't any reason to make a cheaper one. However, over this time, Tesla has been working hard on not only expanding their production capabilities, but also at reducing production costs as well, which would make it much more feasible to be making a cheaper mass market vehicle. And they've been doing this with, building new gigafactories like the ones in China, Germany, and Texas. And even more recently, they announced another brand new gigafactory to be built in Mexico, which, by the way, is said to be double the size of the Texas plant as well. And to make these factories run even more efficiently, during the Investors Day presentation, Tesla showcased various new production techniques that both lower costs while also reducing the manufacturing footprint and improving operator density and space-time efficiency by 44% and 30% respectively. And you remember that Tesla bot that everyone keeps laughing about? Well, it turns out that it might actually be quite useful for building their cars as well, as they plan to put thousands of them in their own factories to reduce costs even further. And of course, these robots can work 24/7 without needing breaks, so production may actually increase even more. They even showed the robots building other robots too, which was kind of creepy, to be honest. Now, granted, some of this may be wishful thinking by Elon Musk, who does tend to overpromise at times, but the fact that they're even trying ambitious things like this while the other automakers are always playing catch up is kind of the reason why Tesla is always, seemingly ahead of them on technology and performance and things like that. Case in point, Tesla has already reduced the size of their new 4680 battery production footprint by nearly 10 times the size, which allows them to scale up battery production much faster and more efficiently than the competition. And that's a huge, if you can have a lead on battery production over the competition, that's huge in the EV market. They also reduced the cost of building a Model 3 by a massive 30%, and they're now aiming to reduce those costs even further for the upcoming next generation vehicles by as much as 50%. And that's why Tesla always has such high margins, because they're so good at producing these things at lower costs. Now, you'll notice that I mentioned next generation vehicles. Well, what are those exactly? Well, during the presentation, Elon showed all the vehicles that they're producing right now, along with 2 upcoming models that are once again hidden under a vehicle cover. One looks a lot larger, like a sort of SUV looking thing, while the other appears to be a much smaller, like a typical sedan type of vehicle. Now, it could be that the vehicles actually end up looking nothing like the pictures here, but it's important to note some clues that point to the sedan likely being that infamous $25,000 Model 2. First of all, if you put one of the pictures from the presentation side by side with the 2020 photo of the Model 2, you can see that it's literally the same photo that they're using again. Granted, that could just be a stock photo, but it's still kind of a little bit of a hint there. And what's more, at a recent event in California to showcase their new global engineering HQ, Tesla played a video showing some design photos for their vehicles, which seemed to also show that smaller hatchback that was long rumored to be the Model 2. So it really seems like this is one of those next-gen vehicles. And as far as the pricing goes, well, not only have analysts been reporting recently that Tesla is in fact working on a $25,000 car, but Elon Musk himself essentially confirmed it last year during a Q3 earnings call, where he said that the next generation model will be be about half the cost of the Model 3 and Model Y and would likely exceed the production of all their other models combined. In other words, they're making a smaller EV at about half the price that they expect to sell like crazy. And that makes perfect sense to me considering how expensive cars in general have become. For example, the average new car right now is selling for almost $50,000. And considering how much cooler and more attractive and in higher demand Teslas are than the average car, that thing would really have to sell like hotcakes at half the price, in my opinion, especially considering that Teslas are actually classified as luxury vehicles. And even when you look at those, first of all, luxury cars are actually becoming more popular over time, now making up almost a fifth of all vehicle sales, and yet the average luxury car sold for over $67,000. That's about 2.7 times more expensive than what the Model 2 would likely be. And even the average electric vehicle in general is also selling for over $65,000 as well. So it's not like there's really any competition here that is even competing with Tesla at that cheaper price point. All Tesla really has to do here is release that cheaper vehicle, scale up the production, which we know that they're working on very hard, expanding like crazy, and then you end up with very high delivery numbers, at least in my opinion. Now, as far as the other model goes, the one that looks like some kind of SUV, looks bigger, it's hard to say what that could be, but if you look at the photo of the Model X SUV that is kind of close to it, you can see that they actually look nothing alike. In fact, the covered next-gen vehicle looks a lot taller and kind of boxier. But you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of that mass transit vehicle that Tesla had showed renders of many years ago as part of Elon's master plan that would essentially be an autonomous driving bus to transport people around. And honestly, that doesn't sound very far-fetched. First of all, Elon Musk has recently said that at least one of the next gen models might be fully autonomous. And on top of that, we already know that Elon wants to launch some kind of a robotaxi service by next year. So this could very well play some sort of role in that. And it even looks very similar to the Amazon-backed company Zoox, who is already transporting workers in California using a very similar looking vehicle. Again, I'm just speculating here, but that thing looks very similar, so I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being that. Anyway, to kind of wrap all of this up for you and give you my overall thoughts on all of this, I really think that there's a lot to be impressed with, a lot to be optimistic about, a lot to be excited about and looking forward to in terms of Tesla's future. But I also feel that a lot of this is based on speculation because we haven't actually seen many of the things that Tesla is talking about. In fact, did you guys notice that Tesla stock actually dropped by considerable amounts after the Tesla Investors Day presentation? Dropped by like 6% the next day. And that was because investors weren't happy with not really being shown many of the things that Tesla is talking about. Now, I was surprised by that because I actually liked the presentation. I liked how Tesla brought up all the different executives, showed that it's not just about Elon Musk, which I happen to be a fan of Elon Musk, but I know that a lot of people don't like him these days, and I know that he's kind of a controversial figure. So I thought it was cool that they brought up all the different team leaders and engineers and everyone that's working on all the different projects at Tesla and showed that it's not just about Elon Musk, but they actually have a lot of talent on the overall Tesla team and that they're working on many different innovative things, and I was impressed by that. However, they didn't actually show us a lot of these things in a physical kind of tangible way. In fact, they didn't show us the next generation vehicles. And of course, the next Tesla Gigafactory in Mexico, where a lot of these innovations are going to take place, it hasn't even broken ground yet. So investors are feeling like, yeah, you're talking about a lot of stuff, which Elon Musk tends to do, and sometimes he doesn't really deliver on some of those things. So you're showing us a lot of, you're talking about a lot of stuff, but you're not actually showing us these things, and you're not revealing them yet, which is supposed to be coming at a later date in terms of actually showing us the next generation vehicles. Having said that, again, I still like everything that that we heard about. And I like the things that Tesla is working on, and I like that for the future. It's a lot of innovative things here that will take some time. So you have to have a long-term mindset with it. So if you ask me, what does all of this mean for the stock? Well, if they're actually successful in actually implementing all the different things that they've been talking about and all the rumors to this cheaper mass market vehicle and the next gen models, well, then I think it has huge implications on the stock, because then I think it does actually get them a lot closer to being able to reach that 2030 goal of, $4.5 trillion market cap, being able to deliver 20 million vehicles per year. And like I said in my previous video, I don't actually think that Tesla needs to reach 20 million vehicle deliveries. I just think that they need to reach the equivalent of that with sales while also maintaining the high profit margins that they already have. Because if you watch that video, you know that Ron Barron based his whole valuation on Tesla stock reaching, climbing by 7 times higher. The whole valuation is based on just vehicle deliveries alone, just vehicle sales. He doesn't calculate in autonomous driving, a robo-taxi service, logistics with the semi, which logistics is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. So there's many different things that Tesla can do, and of course the Tesla robot, and there's solar and energy and battery storage. And I think when you start to add on all those different things, then that's where I think you get closer to being able to reach the equivalency in terms of sales while also maintaining high profit margins. Because a lot of these different things that Tesla is doing, first of all, great diversification for just being an auto company, right? Like they're more of a tech company at this point, and they have great diversification doing all these different things. That's a very big strength in my opinion. But a lot of those different things also have very good margins, because you're going to have software-like margins with autonomous driving, with a robo-taxi service, with a robot that will require a lot of different services, and there will probably be some kind of subscription plan with it. And also logistics. You can have all kinds of logistics services that get tagged along with the semi, and that also brings in a lot more recurring revenue too. And all of that is software-like margins. So some of those parts are even going to be higher margin than just vehicle sales alone. So when I think that when you add on all these things, then I think it has huge implications for the stock. And so that's why Tesla is one of my biggest investments. It's currently like my 3rd largest stock, and I plan to hold it very long term. However, we still have to be realistic about all of this. A lot of this is still kind of speculation. We're not seeing it actually out on the road, out on the market yet. We still don't have a robo-taxi service. The Tesla bot is still, a long ways away from being out there in factories or in people's homes. So there's still things that we're waiting on. And for that reason, I'm not going out there and buying a lot more Tesla stock thinking that this is going to be the next, biggest amazing stock ever that will get me giant profits. No, I'm being a little more cautious than that. I'm just going to kind of hold on to the position that I have already, and I'm waiting to see for the long term. But if I didn't already own Tesla stock, yeah, I'd probably buy some just to hold on to it long term, because I do think it has a lot of potential. But again, a lot of this is just kind of wait and see. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree with my thoughts. Are you kind of a little cautious with some of this too, but mostly optimistic about the future? Or are you feeling like Tesla is a little bit of a scam? They don't really deliver on many of their promises, and Tesla is just a stock that you would rather avoid altogether, and you think it's too highly valued as it is? I would love to hear your thoughts. All opinions are welcome. Leave them down below and we'll have a conversation. But thanks again for stopping by, my friends. I hope you're all doing well, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.